Hey, how you doing, mate?
Good, how are you?
Good. Glad to have you back playing the best game in the world. It's been a little bit.
Yeah,
How
it's been a
how
few months.
yeah, how you going, man? How long have you been back on the ladder for? A few weeks now? Is it a month now?
I haven't been on the ladder. I just played in. The new season of CA just started. So I just started to just play some matches and I'm not playing macro games. I'm just doing all-ins. I do a all-in build per matchup, something like that.
The new
Um,
season of what, sorry? Is it one of the team leagues?
of the corporate esports.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Awesome. The corporate league getting you back into the grind and just
yeah.
cheesing so far, hey?
Just cheesing so far.
But you've said you want to work on macro today, so you want to kind of try and get some more.
Um, so I think right now we've covered Zerg versus Terran in terms of macro versus Protoss in terms of like a macro, and we haven't covered Zerg versus Zerg. So I want to go over Zerg over Zerg, like how the game works, like in terms of macro. And I also have some other questions, like general questions. So these bullet points that you saw, the first few complaints about Zerg versus Terrans, I don't think it's relevant anymore. But a thing that I noticed that is that remember like when you first coached me, you said I have to have my armies in two groups, right? So one at the top and one at the bottom.
Was this doing
Um,
Hydrabane, right?
yeah, Hydrabane, and to
Mm-hmm.
sandwich the opponent. But what usually happens to me is the army. I move my army on the minimap, and I can't see very well on the minimap. So when I click somewhere, my units just go over the rocks and like go through a long detour and completely screw me out. It happens like several times. I don't know how am I expected to fix that. Do I switch to the current to the location and then manually command them, or is there some
Sorry,
other
so
way?
this is new units rallying from edge to join up with your army?
No, it's just like say I have a unit group one and group two, right? So one is on the top of the map, two is on the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then let's say the opponent is coming through the middle. So I would try to pull the top army left and then move the bottom army right and try to sandwich them. But then what usually happens is when I try to move the army, there was some rock on the road, and then it just goes right in front of the opponent's army and then completely screws me up. Like it
Right.
happened several times. I
So
don't know.
you're just kind of not knowing the new map layout very well, I would imagine then, like because obviously every map's going to be different with where you move, and
Hmm.
are you visualizing where they're going to push? Because what you should be doing there is you should really be looking at, hey, here's this push coming, and there should be some point where you want to sandwich it, right? You kind of know what direction they're going usually. And you want to kind of go, okay, I can sandwich it this area or maybe this area. Like if we open up a map
Okay.
here, we can just go World of Sleepers. So open up the stream. So two. Let's open green shot. And so that's something where you just want to be every game after that happens, kind of going, whoa, well, what was I doing with that army? Because it just means we're being a bit lazy. So here we go. Let us go. Okay. All right. Cool. So, uh, this is our 4 base. This is Protoss or a Terran on 3 base. They're pushing out
Hmm.
through the middle. So let's say we are already chilling on the map. Let's say we're not too far out. Let's say our main army is here. Our other army is here. Now, obviously, there's a nice little sandwich location right here. However, if he is down here, this army's going to need to pull back. That army's going to need to pull down. I know this is getting very messy, so we'll clear that. But it's something where looking at this map, we can kind of say to ourselves, wait a second, I am a mid-game player, so I really should have torn this down. If we're just chilling on the map at any moment, there is no reason not to have torn down those rocks, especially these top ones, right? Because then you can kind of come around and come in from both sides. But like, what might be happening is you're looking at it as if this is a blank slate, and you're going, cool. When this army comes across, I will surround it here. So this army is going to go there, this army is going to go there, and they're both going to come in, and that's going to sandwich it. And obviously that doesn't work, right? Because you're just ignoring the terrain. So you always want to think about, well, first of all, let's try and find a nice big wide open area. So if our opponent's coming through the middle, let's think about where they could attack. They could attack here, or they could attack into this base. These are the two kind of areas. Now, whether that's from there or there doesn't matter, right? But it's like those are the two areas where they could be attacking us. And if we look at those, I mean, there's gigantic wide open area here where we can kind of sandwich them. And here are also good areas where we could potentially sandwich them. I would kind of just focus on the first two, here and here, because very easy there to just kind of be ready for it. But yeah, I would kind of just let them come in and then sandwich them. If it was a mech army, I might be looking to engage it further out on the map and kind of catch them unprepared. If those rocks are down, and I like really just see them leave the base back here, and these rocks are down, I might move this army up here, this army up here, and then just like bam, come in from there and get them right in that middle. Even though it's a bit of a choked up area because you're coming from the high ground on either side, hopefully you're kind of surprising and jumping on all the tanks in the middle of that sandwich. But the important thing is just to kind of, anytime you screw up here and you just do something derpy where you're like, oh, this army should go here, and they like half split that way and half split that way, it's like, okay, well, obviously if they're pushing through the middle, we should always just go waypoint there and then waypoint here to make sure they go that way, right? Anytime you're not sure where the army's going to go. So a lot of the time with these two armies, we're kind of going army here, army here. Oh, he's actually going this way. What do? This bottom army, I don't just click it here. Half of it's going to go through his army, right? I go move here and then move there, right? So there's a waypoint to get in.
So you shift click.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Always, whenever you're setting up any sort of flanking maneuver or moving big chunks of army around to flank or backstab or counter attack, we should always be using shift as much as possible. So a lot of the time, even if you're setting up a baneling run by, what you often do is you'll build 30 lings and you'll shift click those eggs here, 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 right?
Okay.
That's actually something where I see players just click the Zerglings to there. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, run through the middle of the map up there. They're going to see him coming, right? Okay. No reason not to have gone, wait a second, let's make sure they go to there. Then once they're there, we can morph banelings and send them in at the right time. So just trying to get used to that idea of queuing your units around. And because, yeah, you want to make sure, preferably they don't even see it coming, give as much space as you can. So, you know, if our whole army was clumped up, say we hadn't split it yet, we're just chilling out here. Oh, he's coming. Shit. Okay, box half the army, move it there. Box the other half, move it probably just here or something like that, or here. And then we either engage here or here. One of these areas, we can close the sandwich on it. But yeah, always queuing your units wherever possible. So is that the thing you've been missing, do you think? You've just never been queuing them around?
I never. When I move it on the map, I don't queue them.
That's huge. Awesome. That's a big one, man.
All right. So you click on the mini-map as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
You don't have to. You can do it the other way, but a lot of the time I do enjoy clicking on that mini-map, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so clicking on the mini-map and using shift clicks to make sure we move in the right direction. Yeah, it's a real art form, sandwiching an army, but it's one of those things. I'm very happy for you to float 3,000 minerals and not inject for a minute while you're setting that up, right? If a game has gone to max versus max, 4 base versus 4 base, that fight usually decides the game. So it's totally fine to just chill.
So yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. So can we do the Zerg versus Zerg macro?
Okay, cool. All right. So you've been a bit more comfortable against mechs, so that's good. Do we have a Zerg player who is roughly 3,800 MMR? Guys in chat, you could be 3,500, you could be 4,000 MMR, you could be 4,200. Anyone in that general range, please let me know. Shout out in chat and come to Chat Channel Pig on NA. And Furax says, I'm a Diamond 2 Zerg. I can help. As does Weezweez. If you guys could both hop into Chat Channel Piggy. So hop in game. All you need to do. /join space pig. And also /join space piggy in case one of those doesn't work. And once you're in there, you can shout out in that channel. Yo, I'm here to help. Wee. All right. So bit of weird audio static just coming through there. I don't know if that's like a fan on the thing or something else. It's fine now.
So what I've been doing before in ZvZ was Lambo had a all-in build. I think he had a Roach, Bane, Ling all-in build. I was doing that all the time. It works good when the opponent is expanding to a third, but it doesn't work when the opponent is doing 2 base Roach all-ins. So I was basically playing the game like if the opponent is opening a third, I take it as a free win. I just was playing under that mentality. So I was hoping if we could do a ZvZ macro, and in terms of ZvZ macro, I'm actually not sure which path to go. Is it to go just mass roaches, or do I go mutas, or roach hydras? Because I'm not sure how hydras are like. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. I'm not sure what's the standard to
We don't normally add hydras to Roach Ravager. It can work, but the Ravagers tend to be easier to add in there. Even though the hydras have more raw damage, they're very fragile. So if you lose them in a fight, you know, your opponent can just remax on more Roach Ravager and take you out. But in terms of what's the right thing to do, it's either mutas with Mutaling Bane, or it's, you know, muter back into Roach, or it's just Roaches potentially into hydras if they go mutas. Essentially, the question is, do you want to play mutas or do you want to play roaches? And that's all that really matters to start.
Okay, so I think I'll play roaches in this case.
Okay, so roach styles are, you know, obviously not quite as dynamic. Something where we do need to just focus on, I guess, being very solid. Yeah. It is very hard to play textbook defensive Zerg versus Zerg, but if we choose to play defensive Roach macro, there's no real shortcuts to make this 100 times easier for us, other than basing ourselves around timing attacks. I'm a big fan, of course, in ZvZ of people being really aggressive, and I think, you know, improving at like Ling Bane pressure into a Roach Bane is awesome. That's all it needs to do. So... So yeah, it's good.
So you recommend a Ling Bane pressure then into roaches?
We can do that. We can just do a gasless wall off every game. It really depends. What are your comfort zone? You know, do you know how to micro banelings properly? Like, are you actually stealing them onto a different control group every time you morph banelings?
Well, I try, but it doesn't always work as expected. But yeah, I do change, add them to another group. But
and are you using control group stealing for that, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do steal them to another group.
Okay, like, I mean, if you're confident with it, then definitely Ling Bane is like the standard solid way to open up. It's kind of fast paced, relies on extra queens for defense. You know, arguably just walling off with Evo and stuff is easier. It's way less flexible. Really, it just comes down to what you want to do. Do you want to do a gasless wall off or Ling Bane? They're both totally fine ways of playing.
It's do Ling Bane then.
Okay. All right, so we want to go Ling Bane. So if you could write this down in the document, you can kind of write down a few notes there. You can say, okay, you want to play Roach style. You want to open Ling Bane. So we're going to do a standard fast third hatch opening. It's kind of interesting. So we can make this easier for ourselves. It depends on how I'm really struggling to think because I don't know how you play. So I need to kind of see what you're doing with your hands and your feel in this matchup to really know what the easiest path is forwards.
So what I usually
Yeah.
do is it's basically like the Zerg versus Terran opening. What I do in the beginning, right? So it's 18, 17, 16, and then the fast third is down at 30 food, and then when I have like 27 or I forgot the exact numbers, 34 food or 27 drones, I cut drone and I just do a wave of lings and ling bane, and then take the game from there. But that is the point where I usually get lost, right? So I don't know how to or when is the good time to transfer to roaches. So what usually happens to me is I see the opponent is going roaches, so then I catch up. It's like being more passive instead of me knowing, okay, at this point I am going to go roaches. That's the main problem I have.
Okay, well, it's a very dynamic matchup. So, I mean, we can play Mega Turtley, which I think is incredibly hard, but some players really like it. We can do it. Where we just drone and we follow a set path and we just escalate the number of lings and banes we build as we see our opponent flooding us. Otherwise, we just have a couple banelings and queens and that's it. Otherwise, we can be the one who's dictating the pace. We can do a ling bane pressure and drone behind that. And if our opponent throws us back or, kills all our lings and banes, we build more lings and banes. And we try to kind of macro behind pressure and macro behind map control. And there's times where we go, well, I don't actually want to commit. He's got plenty of banes. I'll pull back while I macro for a little bit, then I'll poke back in. And that way you kind of keep your opponent on their side of the map. So you can create space and safety in Zerg vs. Zerg for yourself that way. Or we can do it through, basically just having an extra queen all the time, having a few banelings always extra, and just hitting that drone key really hard and trying to kind of only build units when we see him coming out, which means, of course, we've got to be good at watching our overlords on the minimap, and we've just got to kind of be comfortable with how we respond. So I guess a few little things that'll help us be kind of safe, and I think we are going to tend in that direction, though. It's up to you. So it would be basically wall off with Evo, Bane Nest, Roach Warren, and plug with Queen on natural. So that's going to be something that will end up helping us a lot. Now, that's not a super fast wall off. That's just something where that's where our buildings will go at the times when we feel like building them. And it'll make it a little bit less difficult if our opponent starts running lings and banes in from all sides, because our natural will be secure. And we just need to worry about the area between the natural and the third base, which is a much smaller area to manage. So, I mean, are you feeling, all right, get on the map, be the one pressuring, macroing behind it, pressuring, macroing behind it, or are you the one who wants to play very defensively, really just scouting with 2 or 3 lings at a time, and otherwise just droning up really hard and defending with queens and banelings?
Yeah, I don't want to be the defensive one. I want to be the offensive one, but the thing is, I often fail to be the offensive one.
As long as you want to improve at it, though, like if you find it enjoyable, we can get better at it. I think it's the better way to play, to be honest, in this matchup, because Zerg players can go really hard in all in. They can also go really hard greed. So by being aggressive, you're forcing the Zerg to be honest. But this immediately ups the pace, and it basically, you're stepping into the phone booth and stabbing your opponent, right? He's going to stab you back. So you're both going to get shanked, and you're going to bleed a little bit, and it's going to be a bit of a dirty wrestling match inside this phone booth while stabbing each other in the kidneys. As long as we embrace that and we find rule sets and set plays and ways of managing the chaos, we will succeed and we will become the better Zerg vs. Zerg player. So I reckon cool path. Let's go into it, yeah? Awesome. All right. Sweet as. Okay, so we're going to do aggressive map control style. Woohoo! So what's the rule? If they build way more stuff, kind of the idea is match their ling bane count, right? So if we ever throw all our lings and banes away because we're like, ooh, there's no defenses, let's go in and kill drones, woo, but then we lose them all, we need to build a lot more Ling Bane, right? So even though you're droning while you're attacking a lot of the time, the moment we lose map control, they got more units, we just build a lot more shit, a lot more fighting stuff. Match their Ling Bane count and retake map control, be the aggressor. Basically, it's much easier to attack with Ling Bane than it is to defend. So, yeah, that's going to be awesome. All right, I'll hop into channel. Are you in chat channel, Pig or Piggy? What's your account you're on these days?
I'm
I don't see you. Go down Furax in here. I'm not sure if there's someone else who was willing to help us out. All right, let's go. Okay, so we'll host up one of the previous maps that you've got experience on. Probably do like Ephemeron or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
That's the bridge map, right? Ephemeron.
Yeah. Oh, did that get removed from ladder? Oh, it did. All right, we'll do Nightshade. No worries. All right. So we're gonna put you up. So you're gonna be doing the exact same opening as what you were doing. The only difference is you're droning behind it. Now, in terms of so when do we go Evo, Roachhorn, and second and third gases, and then into lair? So what do you think would be a trigger for that off the top of your head? Since you're Ling Baning off 27 workers, just a handful on your natural. You're going bam, 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 bam. You're droning behind it. At what point do we decide to put down that Roachhorn and Evo chamber?
When I win the fight.
So that's not going to be necessarily reliable because winning a fight is pretty vague, right? So,
okay.
As I said, all we're looking to do is maintain map control with our units. We're always droning behind our pressure. So your first pressure is going to be about 20 lings, right? So you can do a 20 ling Bane pressure.
Okay.
And what supply was that? 33, 34?
I think it's 34.
So 34 to 44, right? 10 supply, 20 lings. That sounds good, yeah? Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a 20 to 26, right? Ling Bane pressure, depending on how many lings we built at the start. So you're going to go Roachmore and Evo and 2 times gas. When do we do that? Well, the thing is you're droning by it. We need to make sure we have a big enough economy. So I would say natural saturation.
Okay. The mineral only, right? Okay.
Yes.
Natural saturation.
Yeah.
And this is with one gas, right? The one gas at main.
Just the one gas. That's right.
Okay.
And we don't need to ever pull off that. Keep it simple for ourselves. So natural saturation, Roachmore and Evo, couple gases. But the idea there is if you go across with Ling Bane and he floods out with even more Ling Bane, you can get locked in a Ling Bane battle for a while, right? So there are some rules. If they build more stuff, match their Ling Bane count, retake map control, be the aggressor. So the hard challenge here is sliding in and out of massing Ling Bane and microing our heart out and taking a deep breath and going, this guy has a ton of queens and banelings and like good defensive position. I've got map control. I don't need to force my way in. Let's take a deep breath and focus on my macro. And obviously, if you think about it, if your Ling Bane is just chilling just outside their third or natural, and you just go back to macro for 20 seconds, he might just run out and kill all your lings with a baneling, right? So whenever you're focusing really hard on your macro, you just pull your Ling Bane back to like halfway across the map or something. And then when you've got a bit more time, you can go back in with that Ling Bane and poke around and be a bit more aggressive, right? So that's kind of what's going to happen at the point once you start respecting their defense. That being said, your first 20 Zerglings, you don't respect shit. You get in there and you punch him in the face. And that should be really good. So basically, you're always going to commit to that, at least to the point of diving in. If there's a ton of Banes and Queens and shit, it looks bad. Totally, you can pull back. That's fine. But you're always at least going to look for that push and see if you can get damage done. And we do want to make sure we're still sharp on that timing. We're trying to morph Banelings on the opponent's side of the map. We're not being dumb. We're not doing it under an overlord right in front of their base where they can just cancel it really easily. We're paying attention to where those overlords are. We're going to try and be at least a little bit sneaky. So it's still a sharpling Bane timing, but we're going to have to kind of, just see what we can do. So other than that, it's literally just going to be drone up to 3 bases, mass roach ravager, and smash heads. We don't need to define that. You can figure out some rules for that, and we'll add some later on. Getting up there is the hard bit, and the part we need to find some consistency in. So Fan Furax is ready. That should be great. Are there any questions that are popping into your head?
Well, there are a few. So, for instance, the first 20 to 26 Ling Bane, if I did damage, do I stick with my plan to do the macro, or I just switch to an all-in? Well, I
You
guess for
always
practice
stick with the
purposes,
plan. No,
stick with the
always.
plan.
It,
Okay.
In any matchup, if you wait to see if you're doing damage before you commit to something, that's a terrible idea 90% of the time.
Okay.
Because by the time you're doing damage, if you're only then deciding to build more units, even if they're Zerglings you're building, it's another 20 seconds till those Zerglings swap, another 20 seconds till they get across the map. Any more Banes you'll morph will take another 15 seconds on top of that. Like, you're talking about following up with an attack, which is the thing you've just showed them you're doing, and everything of theirs is going to be focused on defending. So if you go for a bunch of drones, definitely going to get ahead. If you go for an attack, which you're only committing to after you see there's an opening, it's too late, right? It's going to take way too long to get across the map. And this is something you should apply in all matchups. I see a lot of people basically win a game against Terran with a Ravager Ling, and they go, ooh, there's an opening, and they just keep holding down the Zergling key when they could have gone 40 more drones. Instead, they build 80 more Zerglings, they run them into the meat grinder, and they get destroyed. So in general, we want to always apply the rule of, you know, as you're going to attack, you're droning behind that, and that's going to be good. Now, you're going across the map with a lot of units. What do you keep at home for safety?
I usually keep 2 Banelings.
Okay, always 2 safety Banes. Lovely. At home?
1 at natural, 1 on the run.
And always build a few more Lings whilst droning, just so we can make more, right? There's nothing sillier than making 20 drones, being supply blocked, you lose all your shit, he starts counterattacking, you're like, ooh, time to start an Overlord, and then you've got like 2 or 3 Queens and 2 Banelings that have to buy you a minute, and that's obviously impossible if they micro properly. So just building a few more Zerglings always, even if it's just 2 or 4 to go with that when we're attacking, can be really nice. But that should be awesome. Just having the 2 safety Banes will be great. All right, you feeling good? We're ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. Go, 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 go. Thank you, thank you. Sorry for the wait. And Furax should be good. Let's go, 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 go. ZvZ. Awesome. So yeah, just get in there with that Ling Bane. See if you can do some aggression. And hopefully we can punch. So nice quick third base. Baneling Nest after your third, of course, is how it normally goes, but just follow that normal build order. Get your Ling Bane pressure going, and we're going to macro up behind it. Once our natural's saturated fully, that's when we're going to go Evo Chamber, Roach Warren, 2 more gases, and then into the lair. Good luck, have fun, mate.
Thank you.
All right. It's been a while since I've coached someone. I'm really happy that he is willing to be aggressive. Because I tell you guys, you play against some drastically different Zerg players on the ladder. And just like with Protoss or Zerg, having a few pointed pressures to make sure your Zerg opponent... just like if you're Protoss or Terran playing against Zerg, you want to have a few pointed pre-planned pressure timings where you go, you do a sharp attack, might kill them, might just go, oh, he's got plenty of defense, and we pull it back, or we trade with that defense if it's borderline. So learning to recognize when to commit, when to pull back ends up being part of that. But simply hitting a sharp timing attack ends up being really effective. Longdong said turn Bud down. So the guy I'm coaching, he is pretty loud. He was really quiet at the start, and he definitely has started speaking into his mic a little bit better or something like that. So I'll turn him way down now, of course, because his keyboard. But we'll kind of see how we go. I turned him up at the start because he was barely audible. Oh, hey, Wild Potato Pizza. Sorry, I just saw that you liked the background. I just linked it up there. It is very cool. It is very cool. I think you can probably just download the GIF off her website, off her portfolio there. I don't mind you using it as a personal background. But if you're like streaming with it or anything, I'd rather I keep it as my special thing. I'm a greedy boy. So, looking at the way Shengi's playing this game, it looks pretty clean so far. So, I've written up a bunch of extra notes, you know, always safety banes at home, always build a few more lings whilst droning so we can make more banes as needed. Remember, drones and overlords behind your pressures, not just drones, right? You never just build drones. It's easy for people when they're attacking and droning to think that they're like, oh, just drone. It's like, no, you gotta do both. AR Lyric, thanks for the 14 months. Cassidy with the 22 months. Thank you guys. Love it. Appreciate the support. So basically, this style is going to be your most standard opening. And Shengi is, rather than building a third queen and like a quick evo and just sitting defensively with like 6 to 8 zerglings and a couple banes, Shengi's going to be the one who is just staying on 2 queens. Ooh, the fuck is our bane nest? Oh, this is a bad build. It's going third queen. That bane nest is way too late. That's like 25 seconds late. Even if we're playing defensive, that bane nest is greedy as fuck. It's also poorly placed. We could begin our wall over there. But I just want to... Right, so because he's doing his ZvT opening, that's why the third queen's so fast. And now he's walking it to his third, which is a terrible idea. It's much more important to connect creep and keep your queens together and as an anchor of your defense. So this Ling Bane pressure is going to be really slow, and it's not really going to have any point to it. There's also been no real pressure at the start, and these overlords are way too deep to the point where queens could easily snipe these. So... it's not terrible, but there's just lots of small inefficiencies here. And now, like, Lings are rallying out, but Banes haven't even started morphing, and we're nowhere near his base. So this is very non-sneaky. No safety Banes at home. Lots of little things we gotta write here. No third queen. This fast ever in ZvZ. Even once we have third queen, spread creep to third base. Don't walk over there on your own. Ling Bane pressure should always hit the enemy natural first. The big damage targets are drones. Killing a hatch is the lowest value you can get. It's not terrible, but there's just no reason to go for the third. If you find an opening, you want to get in there and kill all your opponent's drones. Now, if you go there, you see lots of Banes and Queens, then you go to the third, that's fine. But you always want to go for the natural as your priority target, because that's where the biggest damage can be dealt. So if your opponent's being mega greedy, and they're on 45 workers, and you waste a minute killing the third base, and then you come over and they're ready and they block you, well, you've just fucked up in a massive way. Now, you can see Anfurax here, not using Queens to defend. Looks like hasn't even control grouped the Queens, and just struggled super fucking hard to deal with that. Now, there was no safety Banes at home. Let's write that down. Forgot safety Banes. Bane Nest should go down right after the third base. No later than 250. Bonus points if our first 4 to 6 slings look for a cancel on enemy third. Can always run back and hide for later Bane morph in a better spot this way also. Ridiculous amount of money building up right now. So you can see that there's no... Where's the... Yeah. Lots of money building up on both sides. So he's going to go do some counter pressure, which is nice. But where's the macro behind it? We just took a 4th gas and built 3 drones and a queen. While having 15 lava, we then built 4 more drones. What are we doing, buddy? Come on. Now we built more drones. It's an awkward habit. Oh my god. I feel like maybe we caught him doing this before. 6 minutes to 7 minutes. Floating 2k minerals with 15 lava and not supply blocked. Built 3 drones, then another 4, then another 7. Why didn't we hold down the button and build a full round immediately? Bad macro habit in the chaos. I don't know what was happening, but that's really awkward if you're just like spending only a little bit of your lava. Like here you should be inject, 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 build units and overlords. Okay, cool. Cool. So basically we see Amphorax is now going for a bit of a desperate little like virtual in. It's down 15 workers. As long as we hang on and survive, we're good. Now, one of the things that Shengi's not doing well is building overlords right now. We should know we're going to get supply blocked very soon. So we should have built 2 or 3 overlords ahead of time as well as all these roaches. Now, we are coming a bit far forward to engage. It's okay in this scenario, but if the numbers were just a little bit higher for Amphorax, I would have rather we kind of pull back and just try to wait a little bit longer, buy time for more reinforcements. So looking at what we're focusing on, just 3 more overlords started there. Shengi should probably be building about 10 overlords right now. Maybe not 10, but probably 10 actually, to be honest. I'd be fine with that. Because we're going to get supply blocked again in the near future. Alright, so let's talk about the mid-game onwards. First of all, we're making Ravages when we have no gas, and we're making Zerglings in the mid-game, which is gross. Don't ever do that, guys. Don't make Lings in the mid-game unless we are really starved on gas. Priority is to take more gases. Go up to 6 gas. 6 gases. If you build Lings, use them as run-bys. Useless in frontal army. So really awkward. If Ravages are nice, but it's always better to have more roaches. Always better to have more roaches and upgrades than more Ravages. Ravages are nice. The roach count is everything, so you get to pretty high supply. Alright. Still hasn't put on these gas geyses.
The hive cluster is under attack.
Yeah. Overall, not bad play, but you can just see that there's like yeah, a bit of a lack of direction here. So let's see. Are we going to start sniping some of these overlords? Hope so. There we go. One goes down. Alright, so it'd be really cool if we... Do we have 6 gas? 1, 2, 3, 4. We do have a few gases. So infestation pits on the way. Hydras and lurkers are the best units to get to. Like, well, not really hydras, but just lurkers. Like, just roach ravager lurker is the most powerful thing. But Shengi should be able to win with this comp. Just queued up 7 roaches, but the lava popped right afterwards. It's a bit unfortunate. Is supply blocked right now? There we go. 7 overlords on the way. Come on, Shengi. Come on. Let's do this. He had 1 Bane at home, apparently? Oh, really? Sure. I mean, I don't think he had anything at home when he first pushed. Maybe like a little bit later he did, but earlier he definitely didn't. I don't think he did. He's mass and roaches. He's gonna go for a run by now. It's one of these things where it's like, okay, we're maxed out. We should be wanting to fight right now, right? Without max. So sending a backstab down to the right, I like that move. They are control grouped as well, I think. It's off the screen, this little roach counter attack, so I can't really tell. Kind of funny, and Furax is so dead, but it's kind of bullying Shengi just a little bit with the roach army. Oof. Oh, this is a bit of a tight choke point to find yourself in, but it's okay. Shingy knows he's got it. Move forward, move forward, move forward. Good, 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 good. Oof. Does eat one of his own biles, but that's okay. Yeah, good time to fight, good time to fight. Awesome. GG! I love your voice pack, by the way. There's actually quite a lot of voice packs I still don't have, but GG, well played, mate. That was awesome. So, we can do a real quick rewind. You can open the stream. We can do a real quick review of some of the key little things in that game.
Okay.
Overall, very good. First things first, we don't need a third queen. So, third queen in ZvZ, never that fast. Now, if we're playing defensively, which we are not, we would get a third queen, but we probably wouldn't get it till we're at least at 36 supply, preferably like 38, 39 supply, because if we can just get a few more drones out, as long as we got banelings on time, we should be good. Okay?
So I don't need to inject my third?
Hells no. No, not at all.
Okay.
So that's another thing. Even if when you do get a third queen, you never send that to the third straight away until the Ling Bane phase is like over, basically.
Okay.
Because it just dies over there. Like, yeah, what you want to do normally in this matchup, now you're going to skip it because you're being very aggressive with your Ling Bane, so every inject counts at the start. But once the Ling Bane, like after this wave of Ling Bane, we want to get a creep tumor on our natural as quickly as possible and spread that creep to the third base. So the idea is your queens never go off creep, right? They only go to the third basically once creep gets to the third, because the queens are the anchor of your defense. You know how you use your queens to defend Hellions and TvZ? Same thing here against Banelings. Your Lings and Banes suck at defending against Lings and Banes. And both of you were at multiple points in this game, or I guess him a few times more than you because you were more aggressive, struggling really hard because you were trying to use Lings and Banes to defend your opponent's Ling Bane. Like, I'll show when he really screws up with it, right? Where you ran in with 2 Banes after getting the third, and his queens are just chilling here, and he's trying to micro his Ling Bane like a maniac, when all he needed to do was bring his queens to the front. Didn't even need to focus fire them. So whenever you're in this situation, we look at it from his point of view. All we want to focus on as that player, and like I said, he should have had a creep tumor here. Same thing as you, right? If you're playing defensive, you've got to get that creep. You bring those queens forward on that defense key, and any Zerglings you have, if they got Banelings around, fucking useless unit, right? There's 2 ways you could use those Zerglings. Run them back in your base as reserve and and just keep morphing extra Banes with them as needed, or bypass your opponent's attack, run across the map and use them to counterattack, where they can pull your opponent's attention away. But anytime you're running a lot of Lings around in a fight where your opponent's got multiple Banes running around, all you're doing is giving yourself a big chance of screwing up, panicking yourself, and making your opponent have a big fat smile on their face, right? Whereas all you need to do is, like I said, pull those Lings back or send them across the map. Basically, take the Lings out of the equation, move the queens forward. And all you need to do is move the queens, bonus points if you focus fire them, but it's okay if you screw that up. You'll see, yeah, here we go. At this point, these Lings should just be pulled way back into the main. The Banes should be pulled back, the queens should be in front, and then the Banelings of Anthuric should just be clicking those Banelings around, making sure they don't blow up on stuff. And if you suddenly came in with 30 Zerglings or 10 Banelings behind the Banelings, then he could grab those Banelings and right-click them into them. Or he could box, if he wants to be super pro, and split 2 or 3 of those Banelings forward, right? But the idea is the Banelings are just there to say, hey, you can't run in all at once. So once your Banelings are there, all you need is 2 Banelings to threaten that. But if you've got multiple pairs, that's good, in case you use 2 of them up, right? You're forcing them to spread out. And if they spread out, your queens can just shoot them down 1 or 2 units at a time. And your queens become this awesome, crazy, efficient unit. So that combination of the queens as the anchor, they are the javelin or the trident, and the Banelings are the net. If they try to charge in, the Banelings go, no, motherfucker. You can't run in here with 20 Zings. Queens are useless if 20 Lings just surround them and you don't have Banelings guarding them. But as long as you got Banelings around just kind of on walking duty being like, you can't run in all at once, and they basically are only meant to detonate if your opponent clumps up and tries to force the issue. So that way you've got this really nice combo. Queens are the anchor, Bane's the other thing. So we also saw this kind of on the other side over here, right? Your queen's over at the third, you got some drones there. Something you can do in this early stage, that third base should be rallied to the natural. because otherwise this is often going to happen. And remember, you've been very aggressive, so you're not going to have extra queens up and Banes over here necessarily. There will be moments where they counterattack, and our hatchery is going to take some damage. So the idea is focus on saturating your natural, then get the Rotor in the Evo chamber, etc. And only then can you kind of, oh, the creep's over to the third, our natural and main are saturated, now we can drone the third base up. But kind of just think of that as a hatchery on its own, which is obviously a bunch of lings run in, it can tank a crazy amount of damage. So if we go right back, let's just rehearse the build order changes here that are going to change every game. These are some strategic points. Let's talk about some other important points. That third queen, not going to start up, which means our baneling nest will start up. Now, you've pulled 2 workers off gas. Stop doing that. Just leave on gas the entire time. If you want, you can juggle one off gas at ling speed, put it back on at like around this time. But it's easier if we just keep all 3 on gas, okay? So just keep all 3 on gas there.
So if I keep all 3 on gas, I would have 50 gas a little bit earlier. Do I just put down the baling nest whenever I have the gas?
After the third hatch, we can say about 30 to 32 supply. Normally I say by 2 minutes 50. If you drop the baneling nest about 2 minutes 50, that's a good safe bane nest timing. What's also nice is obviously if you go for that around now, you can see, oh, your creep's getting to the front. So you can start a wall off. You can start a wall off either down on the bottom or the top side up here with that baneling nest. Because remember, then we're going to add the Evo and the Rochoran later, and that'll give us a hole, single space for a queen to plug. Bane nest, hole with the queen, Evo, Rochoran. And that'll be really awesome. So your baneling nest is going to go down 250 I've written there. That can be 30 to 32 supply. Awesome. So that means that's going to be good. Now your first 4 lings just chilled at home. I've written bonus points if those first 4 lings go across the map and try to just look for a cancel in our opponent's third. I even in GM still get people who just don't build enough lings and I cancel that third. And I'm like, what are you doing, buddy? This is silly. But a lot of people do it. So if you went across, he only had 2 lings, you would at least force him to build a few more lings. What's also advantageous is you would see exactly where all the overlords are. So you go in there, you see his lings come, you pull back, and then you can veer off and hide to morph banelings in a corner somewhere, right? Okay. Whereas for you, you were kind of like, oh, it's time to go. And then you started rallying your Zerglings and, you know, really foretold kind of exactly what was coming. Whereas if you're morphing those banelings on location at the same time as the speedlings flood out, that's the first warning they get. Your banelings are done before their defensive banelings are done. You're hitting a crisp, surprising timing. Whereas this one is about the most obvious thing I've ever seen in my life, right? This Overlord's just kind of like, what's going on, buddy? So he has so much time to prepare for this. Now, the last point with this is you always go for the natural, not the third. The third is nice if we kill it, but if we've actually got enough of an opening to do 1,500 hit points of damage, I would much rather kill 1,500 hit points of drones or even 300 or 400 hit points of drones, right? So that's just way more expensive than a hatchery. So always go for the natural. If there's too much defense, pull back and go for the third. And that's going to delay you a few seconds of damage on the third hatch. Usually is not going to be the difference between killing a third base or barely surviving. But it will find games where, oh, there's no banelings ready. My lings can just dive into the main. My banes can dive straight into the mineral line. I can just kill a ton of stuff. Cool, I won the game. So always go for the throat.
So in Zerg versus Zerg, the second Overlord, is it okay to build at 19 food? Or
yeah.
It's okay. Okay.
Yeah, I still do that. Are you're still going 17 hatch?
16 hatch.
Cool. I think with a 16 hatch, because your hatch is slightly faster, it's probably more efficient to go like a 20 Overlord. Because then you just get the extra drone out a few seconds early. It doesn't make much difference. So
okay.
I think the 16 you won't actually be supply blocked at all. Could be incorrect on that, but yeah, well, it doesn't really matter. It's like pretty low priority fixing that.
And then you explained when handling the pressure when opponent is pressuring, I should use 2 queens and the banelings to do that. Should I queue up the queens if the queen is like low health or something?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, whenever the situation escalates, if there's tons of
Okay.
lings and banes and the shit, oh, this shit's hitting the fan, make more banes, make more queens. If this was like 10 zerglings that came across the map, I'd be like, I'm not even going to pull the queen from the main base. We'll just use the other two queens that we have, right? Like this is not worth anything, right? If he's literally, you're looking at your minimap, you're seeing a non-stop stream of Ling Bane coming across. There's Banelings morphing, shit's getting, build more queens, build more lings, build more banes, and especially as queens are getting low on hit points, yes. If you can build more queens and if you can land transfuses as well, super epic. So it's really, really nice. But yeah, the creep tumor and the moving the queens over would be good. And the thing is, like the third base, if you're in this scenario, your two queens should have been in your natural. Does that mean move your queens to your third? Nope. Defend the third with just Ling Bane. Your queens stay on your natural because you don't have creep. If you had the creep, you could move over there. But without the creep, it's too easy for your queens to go there. The lings pull back and 8 banelings walk into your natural from this surprising angle that you didn't see coming. You go, you pull your queens, they're waddling back across no man's land. Like, and you're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Because there's just nothing you can do. How are you going to kill those 8 banelings? You just have to spread your drones out and try to rebuild them because you know you're going to lose a ton of drones anyway. But if those queens are in position, plus you got these 2 banelings dancing around with them, they come in nice and spread out. Your queens are going to pick off almost every baneling. If they come up in a big clump, your 2 banes take them all out, right? So that combination, a couple queens, a couple banes, is like so good for defending that sort of stuff.
So for the first creep tumor, which 50 energy do I put it down? Do I put it down the first 50 energy from the natural queen or the second?
Yeah, the first 25 energy, the first...
Oh, the first 25.
Sorry, not the first. Sorry, but the 25 energy, not 50, is the number, of course, for that. But you definitely want to go 1 inject. Now, with a macro defensive build, if you weren't doing this Ling Bane pressure, basically that first queen, after the first inject, she'd just walk over to the edge and be like, I'm dropping a creep tumor straight away. Because you definitely need another inject. You're being aggressive with the Ling Banes. We need a little bit more lava. And we're going to kind of defend through aggression, right? Which you did great job of this game. You kept rebuilding the Ling Bane and pushing him back, right? Keeping the pressure on him. Yeah, I would say basically after the second inject on the natural, we can go for that creep.
After the second inject, okay.
Yep. Awesome. All right.
Cool.
Creep after second inject on natural. Awesome. Looking at my notes, let me see what big things are here that I've missed. Just one. 6 to 7 minutes. This is the point where he did this counter pressure, and like I said, because your drones were out there, your queen was out there, you got a bit panicked. Whereas if you didn't have that exposed, you could have just moved your Ling Bane over and barely even looked at this and been a bit more chill. Something else that makes you a bit panicked here is your Overlord vision. So your first Overlord goes way too deep. He easily could have sniped this Overlord. So that Overlord should have pulled back down here. And that means we don't need this one. They're both doing the same job. So this Overlord should have pulled back to there after scouting the natural. This other Overlord at the third is fantastic. However, I'd like it down to the left a little bit because there is technically a little sliver of fog, right? Little sliver.
Okay.
So that would be better if it was down here somewhere. Now, after that, this Overlord on the left, bottom left of the map, useless. This is such a bonus. Maybe this will see some shit sometimes, Overlord. Much more important to have your own Overlords in the identical mirrored positions. Out here
This is
and
this
out
is
here.
the part where so for instance when I'm playing on the map I just kind of spread the overlords at places where I think it's useful, but so how do you know if what path are the opponent going to, go through? Do you
You
like
always
attack-
cover the most direct path. As long as you see the exit and the entrance as the highest priority, you'll see which direction they go. So if your Overlord is out here and you see them run down to the left, you know they're somewhere in that side of the map. And this Overlord over here is going to see when they come in. You don't need to know exactly where they are beyond that. So it's always highest priority, Overlord, Overlord. Then your defensive 2 Overlords outside your natural in your third. And then you can fill in the middle with 1 or 2 more Overlords if you want. But that's the absolute maximum. Because mutas are going to kill too many Overlords. If we put like 20 OVs on the map, unless you're confident you can get OV speed out and stuff, we basically want to wait until we know we're in a Roach versus Roach game before we go too crazy on the Overlords and put them all on the edges to see like Roach run bys and that sort of stuff. In the Ling Bane game, it's just about seeing the exit of your opponent's base to see if they run out with anything, and the entrance to your base to see, oh shit, there's some sneaky Banes or Lings that I lost track of coming in.
Okay.
As long as you got those two, like that's going to be way better for you. Makes it really easy as well, because then you see which way the Ling Bane's going, and your queens can like move between the bases. Once you got creep, your Banes can be in the right positions, and you'll be able to kind of manage your defense really well.
Okay. So overlords at the exits of opponent's base and entrance at my base, and like if I want to, I can have another one in the middle of a map, but that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Especially if there's like a tall grass in the middle. Like, don't get me wrong, sometimes you're in those crazy Ling Bane games where there's skirmishes all around the edges of the map. We'd love to have overlords over there. It's just too inconsistent, right? It's just like, if we had 20 overlords to play with, we'd do it for sure, but you know, we've only got a few in the early game, so we've got to prioritize. And this is nice because it gives you really consistent vision. I still see GM players with really bad overlord positioning every game, and for me it's such a fundamental of ZvZ, because it's like, man, Zerg is bullshit. They build one roach warren and they build 20 roaches and they're coming and killing you. Like, what the hell, man? That's you need to see that shit the moment it leaves the base. It's not like a Protoss where they got to build 2 Stargates and then spend the next 6 minutes getting their 8 Void Rays out, where you could have scouted it so long ahead of time. You know, Zerg's a lot more flexible, a lot more able to pull the trigger one way or the other. So that map information, so valuable, man. So valuable.
So for the engagement, for the Roach Revenger engagement, I panic a lot. Do you have any tips, like how should I handle the corrosive biles from the opponent?
Yeah, for sure. Before we do that, one point. So just please remind me of that if I forget.
Okay.
After dealing with that Ling Bane pressure, obviously the Queen was exposed, the drones were exposed, but you got really chaotic after this settled. So things are going to settle here in a few seconds. And you're both obviously miss-macroing like crazy. It happens. What's more important is how quickly we get on top of that. Now, what we're going to look at is your camera here, and I want to show you some bad macro habits I've seen you do in the past in chaotic games, and popping up here a little bit. So we're microing our Lings to get back out on the map, to create some safety. I'm okay with you floating 1,600 minerals right now and not producing, but instead pushing back out on the map. Because you're right now going, he's just been in my face. I got to get back out there, put the pressure on him. And this is kind of how I'm creating some space for myself. So this little delay, some people are going, spend your money. I'm not in that crowd. I think it's totally fine here. You were prioritizing. If we want to fix that, we go back and fix the fact that your defense wasn't set up nicely to begin with, right? If we want to improve that. Right now, I think you're prioritizing the correct thing with your APM, okay? The problem is in the follow-up. So once we start going, okay, let's macro, we go inject, we take a gas, we then build 3 drones and a queen and change the rally points to the 3rd. Okay, I don't mind the gas. We can see we've got a lot of minerals, low gas. We didn't inject the natural, but we didn't have energy for it, so that's fine. What I'm confused about is why we built 3 drones and have 15 lava and we're nowhere near supply blocked. That's a weird thing. So you kind of just went drone, click, click, click. Did we click on the gas? No, we didn't. So we just built 3 drones. And then what's going to happen here is over the next few seconds, we micro our Lings. We then build another 4 drones. We micro our Lings. And in a moment here, after focusing these Banes down, we build another 7 drones. We then selected the Lings, then we selected the hatches, and then built 6 overlords. You ended up spending the money. It was just a bit weird that we didn't just hold down the drone and overlord key in the first place. Do you think it was because you weren't sure what units you wanted to build, or do you think you were just caught up in the chaos and you thought you'd spent all your lava, but you actually hadn't? Any idea how that happened?
It happens to me like in other matchups as well. Did the larva just pop when I
No,
built the
it was
drones?
there the
No,
whole time.
It was there. Okay.
Yeah, it was there the whole time. Let me double check. So I think it's going to be about 6:30, I think, is when this happens. Yeah, we've already got 9 lava, 15 lava from before you even get your Lings back out on the map. So you're sitting on 15 lava for a long time beforehand.
I don't know why I only made 3 though.
And then you selected it and you built 4. And then you microed, and now you're going to select it, and then you hold it down again, and you build a bunch of drones and then overlords. And it felt like only once you were in his face and crushing a fight did you feel comfortable holding down the key and spending all your lava on drones and all your lava on overlords. Now, if you find that's because you're worried about an attack, just leave a few more Banes at home. A lot of the time, we only had one safety Bane this game. Just leave a few more Lings there, morphing into Banes behind or something like that, right?
Okay.
You know, if we're worried, if that's what it is. But let's just try to be a little bit more confident. It's so important for us to do those big, smooth macro cycles all at once to spend that money after these crazy micro situations. You're going to have a lot of games like this, which are messy. So remember what I said at the start. If we do this style, you need to not be a harsh critic of yourself. You need to not go, fucking, 2k minerals, 2k minerals. You can have a lot of games where you hit 2k minerals. What I want you to focus on is your systems for getting on top of that. So I don't care about the 2k minerals, like I said. What I care about is you producing awkwardly. So we'll always just look for the system. Go, okay, let's try and remember to produce a bit more smoothly and try to really hit those full cycles and hold down and spend all my lava and build overlords all at once next time when I'm in a messy ZvZ. If you keep working on systems like that, you're going to keep cleaning it up. And it might go from 1,600 minerals for 2 minutes down to 1,200 minerals for just 1 minute before you spend that bank. And as you start to do this, it's just going to look better and better. So I think just keep that mindset of there's going to be a lot of mistakes. Incrementally, we want to minimize those mistakes, right, through the system. So I see a systemic problem where you're kind of producing 2 drones, producing another 3 drones, producing another 4 drones. I go, that's a big waste of APM. You know, we're not comfortable here. We need to find a way to make ourselves comfortable and find a way to remind ourselves to do things efficiently. Because isn't it the funny thing in StarCraft? When we're under pressure, we need to play the most efficient. And that's when we play the least efficient, naturally, right? This is like the StarCraft conundrum, is every time we're under pressure, I gotta do more, I gotta do more, I gotta do more. And we end up playing twice as fast and doing 20% of the things whilst playing twice as fast. And it's like, oh shit, okay, like I gotta be a bit more organized in the chaos. Like I gotta actually find a way to execute the important things calmly, take a deep breath, slow down, and remember it's not just about doing everything at once. It's about being smart and calm in the chaos. So if we can keep that focus, I think you're gonna keep, analyze your replays, look for little moments like that, and just go, okay, let's fix that system. And I think you're gonna keep getting better and better here. You were going to ask about the Roach Ravager fights. So you said you're kind of unconfident, you're not sure when to commit and that sort of stuff. So here in the mid... Oh, you built Zerglings and Banelings at this point, by the way, which I really hated. So you hadn't seen any Zerglings from your opponent in a really long time, and yet we made a bunch of Banes on the third. So there's just no reason for that. I think part of it's because we didn't have this Overlord in front of the third, so we were just a little worried that there might be a big Ling run by. But building Zerglings of our own, we should also never do unless we're really gas starved. And the reason I didn't like this is you actually built those Zerglings, and then it was about 5 seconds later you went, oh, actually I should probably take these gases. And I was like, you also made a ton of Ravages with your last gas, which was not good, right? Like I would have much rather we got the gases, we held off on the Ravages, we just kept building more Roaches and more upgrades. And then as we got more gas income, started making more Ravages. But even just pure Roach really holds its own. It's only once you get to these big like 190 supply battles, 180 supply where, I've got no Ravages, he's got 8 Ravages. That's going to make a big difference, right? Because there's so many targets for the bile to spread across and really screw up. But in a small skirmish like this, well, not small, but medium, 30 Roaches versus 30 Roaches, having a few Ravages doesn't change it as much because you build Zerglings and they are worthless in the frontal fight, right? I mean, his +1's very late, but in these big battles, they are not good. They're a real timing attack unit. If you do have to build them because you're really gas starved, backstab. Use them only for run bys. Do not fight their army with them. They're still good for killing drones, but don't use them in the frontal fight at all.
Okay.
Cool. So, in terms of the engagements, taking Concave's always good. You did a lot of pulling back there to dodge biles, which was pretty good. I think maybe you had a little bit of problem because you were a bit short on gas, because you took so long to take those gases, right? So you're just floating minerals here where you can see in the replay we're actually way ahead, right? You better macro, got ahead after the early aggression, killed the third. You're way ahead. what can make you more confident here is, well, first of all, just knowing that we're hitting our production nonstop and then choosing attack timings. So something I like to do is I'd be like, okay, my +1's just kicked in. I'm going to click on their units. They don't have +1 yet. Ooh, okay, I might fight. You know, I might try to fight right now. Especially, you want to have some sense of where you are in the game. And that can vary a lot because the game can be chaotic. But a few simple things you can do to gauge where you are. Just look at your Roach Ravager army while making sure you're spending your money perfectly. Compare it to theirs. Look at their drone count. Compare it to yours. And that's something you kind of stopped scouting in these later stages. So you had no game sense. So what are some ways we can gather game sense and get some scouting? Overseer / Changeling scouts their army. Glance at it. Glance at your army. Whose is bigger? So basically you want to be the awkward guy at the urinal. Just take a little glance. And it's always hard to tell with a glimpse in a high-paced StarCraft game when he's going, stop looking at my large Roach Ravager ball. That's weird. That's a moment where it's hard to make a read, but you will get better at it the more you do it, right? Just get some reps down on eyeing his Roach Ravager ball. The other one, of course, is drone count. So how can we see that? Compare third base, right? And then compare fourth base later, right? But mostly the third base. So if we had that vision, right? We'd be like, oh, you just getting drones on your third now? Oh, I'm way ahead, right? You would feel so ahead economically. And we would know that, like, cool. So if right now we could see everything. We see our opponent's got 8 drones on their third. We're going up to full saturation on our third. So how many workers ahead are we if we see that they've only got 8 drones and we've got the gases and a full 17?
6 + 6, 12.
So we're at least 12
13.
workers ahead. 12, 13 workers ahead. Okay, that's awesome. That's a big lead in ZvZ. And then if we compare armies, we can see everything this game. And you kind of could. I'd say that looks pretty similar. You know? A large Ravager shaft, bulbous Roach section. Dick jokes aside. It's just basically, it looks pretty similar. So if I think, oh, we got the same Roach Ravager count roughly. I'm up 12, 13 workers. And I just droned. I'm not going, I'm ahead, let's go fight. I'm going, well, if I just build Roach Ravager for the next 2 minutes, I should just have more shit, right? So maybe a minute or two from now, I want to take a fight with my Roaches and Ravagers versus his Roaches and Ravagers. And that way we kind of know confidently that we're ahead, right? We will have a bigger army at that point. Now, whether he doesn't build any drones and just builds Roaches and Ravagers, we're producing more, right? We're starting at the same army. We've got more income. We'll be at, if he drones up, he's going to be even further behind. Obviously, the longer it goes, those drones will start paying for themselves and then eventually paying for more Roaches. But that's many minutes down the line. So we kind of get that confidence from comparing our Roach Ravager ball and most importantly, comparing the drone count. Of course, forcing your way through a choke point into a terrible engagement. This is the Korean way of Zerg versus Zerg, where you say, I know I've got the upgrade advantage or I know I've got the army advantage. Let's force the fight now. It can be a game winner. But if you're not comfortable with that or you're not 100% sure with your game sense, I don't actually know if I'm ahead on upgrades. His might kick in right now. I think maybe our armies are still pretty even. Maybe I didn't have the full scouting. Obviously, you can just start doing more run-bys where you did a good job with like the Roach run-bys and just kind of fighting for position. But anytime you've got like a situation where you're like, oh, I was really afraid. I didn't know when I could fight. I didn't know if I should run away. I should commit. Go back, look at the replay, and compare these things. Go, wait a second, was I scouting that third base? If you weren't, big doo-doo. If you were, big plus, big thumbs up. And then, even with your scouting, try to cast your mind back and go, did I actually understand that I was ahead in this game? Did I know that? If you didn't, okay, let's like address that problem. So I think having that understanding is really going to help you as a player, because you'll just know when to commit to the fights and when to back off, right?
Okay.
Cool. No worries, man. I think we are out of time, right? No worries. That's cool. This is a good first game, I think, for you with this style. So honestly, if you can play some more games immediately with Anfurax and just get more of that rhythm, that'll be great. I'm not sure if Anfurax is still around. Let's say thank you so much, mate. I'm gonna make you the party leader, by the way. so you can host up some more games if you're both free, or you can add friends. Did you watch the replay analysis? Queens up front on a defense, control group, etc. I'm hoping Anforax got those notes, because I think a lot of the same stuff will help him out a lot as well. Awesome. Play some customs, fam. Good luck, have fun, guys. Awesome. All right. Good stuff, mate. Yeah. Any questions? Anything's not clear? Hit me up. Otherwise, good shit. And I'll catch you next time, man.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Have a good night, mate.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Thank you very much for hanging out. I really appreciate the support.